For reaction to those comments and to Rosenstein's uncertain fate, I'm joined by Congressman Adam Schiff of California, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Let me start with that. The president's own lawyer on his radio show saying a timeout, a step back. What does that mean? What's your reaction to it?
Well, this is certainly the Trump lawyers giving away exactly what this is all about. They want to get rid of Rod Rosenstein. They want to make a halt to the Mueller investigation. They call it a pause, but they want to see the Mueller investigation go completely away. And I think the opportunity of getting rid of Rod Rosenstein, putting someone else in his place, the president's own personal version of Roy Cohn, who will do his bidding, is exactly what they're after. And I think under no circumstances should Rod Rosenstein play into those aspirations by resigning. If the president is going to obstruct justice, he needs to own it. And more than that, Congress needs to step up and take up legislation to protect him now and not wait until there's a catastrophe.
Do you remain confident in Rosenstein's integrity, competence, independence, and ability right now?
Look, I haven't always agreed with Rod Rosenstein, and for months I've urged both he and the Justice Department to stop providing materials to Congress in a pending investigation that we have no business reviewing, and merely going to provide to the Trump legal defense team from his allies in Congress. I haven't always agreed with the judgments he's made about this, but I do believe he has the best interests of justice at heart, that he is protecting the Mueller investigation to the best of his ability, and that is exactly what he should be doing. And I can understand the pressure that he's under and wanting to, if he is to leave the Justice Department, not go out in the middle of a spat with the president. But the higher obligation here is to the Constitution, the interest of justice. And that means that you do not resign. If the president is going to order you to do something unethical, you refuse, and you allow yourself to be fired. But you don't create a vacancy under the Vacancies Act that will allow the president to circumvent the rule of law by putting a crony in that position.
So it's a crucial distinction to you whether he resigns or fired in terms of how he were to depart if he, in fact, is going to be taken out of his job.
It's crucial in two respects. It's crucial in that if he resigns as opposed to being fired, then the president gets to replace him on an interim basis with somebody who will simply do his bidding. But it's also important in the case that Bob Mueller may be putting together on the issue of obstruction of justice. In that case, the firing of James Comey is Exhibit A, and the firing of Rod Rosenstein would be Exhibit B. If he resigns, that makes it more murky as to whether this constitutes a further act of obstruction.
What's your worst fear about what happens if Rosenstein were to go?
My worst fear is that the president puts someone in that position that will essentially tell Mueller to stop the investigation, that will tell Mueller with respect to anything further that they might do, that you will not look at this, you will not look at that. Those conversations would all be private. One of the things that Bob Mueller, I believe, needs to do a thorough investigation to determine whether the Russians were laundering money through the Trump organization, whether that is the leverage the Russians may have over the President of the United States. Well, Rod Rosenstein makes that decision now. If he's replaced, someone else would make that decision.
Sorry, let me just stop you there. Do you have reason to believe that's the case? The Russians were laundering money through the Trump organization as the leverage?
Well, there's certainly many serious allegations about this, and we can see in statements that the president's own sons have made at a time when they were buying properties like golf courses with cash, and they were asked, where are you getting all this money? And one of the sons said, we're getting it from Russia. We get all the money we need from Russia. We don't basically need to deal with American banks. And at another time, one of the other sons said, we get a disproportionate share of our assets from Russia. And then you see that there is certainly evidence of the purchase of properties by Russia, the flipping of those properties. Of course, the most egregious example is that residence in Florida that was purchased by Trump for something in the neighborhood of $40 million and sold a few years later in a declining market for about double that price, purchased by a Russian oligarch.
So what do you expect? How are you preparing yourself for the sort of Thursday meeting between Rosenstein and the president?
Well, right now we need to be sounding the alarm, and we need to be calling out the Republican members of Congress who have been all too timid and at times complicit with the president's attacks on the rule of law. The Speaker and the Senate leader cannot plausibly claim anymore, if they ever could, that the prospect of interfering with the special counsel is theoretical.
Yeah.
It's real. And they can't stop. They can't continue to hide. They need to do their jobs. We should take up legislation, if they're serious about protecting the rule of law and the integrity of this investigation, that protects Bob Mueller.
All right, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you.